Hi children, how are you? All of you, good morning. And today's our topic is Indian Constitution. So this is the 22nd chapter in your 8th standard civics. So previously we have seen what is a constitution. Constitution is a set of principles according to which a state or an organization is governed, and constitution is the essential document for any country, and also it is considered a fundamental law of a country, and the national goals of a country is actually are laid down in the constitution, and also the constitution protects the rights of citizens, and also whenever the citizens want to enjoy the rights in a good manner, they have to know the constitution. Why? Because the constitution only protects the rights of the all people in the country, and in such a way even the constitution lays the structure of the government, and even it defines the functions of all organs of the government, and it coordinates the functions of all organs of the government. Those are legislature, executive and judiciary. That all we have learned, and even what we learned in the previous class, that the Constituent Assembly has taken the responsibility of framing our constitution. 1946 elections were held for Constituent Assembly. So in 1946 itself, Constituent Assembly started for working on framing the Indian Constitution. So it took nearly 2 years, 11 months and 18 days to complete our Constitution. And finally, our Constitution was adopted in 1949 by Constituent Assembly, and finally our Constitution came into force from 1950 January 26th. So January 26th is regarded as a Republic Day because our Constitution came into force from 1950 January 26th. And even I had told you that why our country is called a republic. What is the meaning of republic? So republic means a nation which has an elected head. That is the meaning of a republic. Now let us see what are the important features of our constitution. See, here we have to know the important features of constitution. Particularly I am going to explain nearly 10 important features. In that, the first important one, India written constitution. See, India's constitution is the lengthiest written constitution in the world. It is the lengthiest written constitution in the world. So, no constitution in the world as big as India's constitution. That's why what is the important symbol given for the Indian constitution is that is elephant. Why? That is elephant is the largest land animal. Understood? So because of its size, Indian constitution is symbolized with the elephant. Understand? So how do you tell that it is a lengthiest constitution and biggest constitution in the world? Because it has nearly 448 articles, and the next one even nearly 12 schedules. How many schedules? 12 schedules, and nearly 118 amendments have been done. Amendments according to our textbook I am telling, and nearly 22 parts you can find in our constitution. Understood? How many articles? 448 according to our textbook I am telling, and nearly 12 schedules, and how many parts? 22 parts. What is amendment? Amendment means making a slight change, little change. That is called amendment. So according to our needs, we have to change our constitution. So that's why from 1947 onwards, of course we brought our constitution 1950. So from 1950 onwards, so many changes needed for our constitution. That's why we made those changes. Such slight changes are called amendments. So far we have amended nearly more than 118 times. That is the meaning of amendment. So children, I hope you understood the first important feature of Indian Constitution. What is that? India's constitution is the lengthiest written constitution in the world. So that is what you have to understand. This is the first one. So even you may get, now you may get doubt, what are articles? See, each article speak about some important matter regarding administration. Okay, see, for example, Article 17 speaks about the untouchability. Untouchability, practice of untouchability is a crime. Next, Article 352 speak about election commission. Okay, Article 143, according to Article 143, the President can ask an opinion, can take advice from the Supreme Court. After giving the advice by the Supreme Court, the President may or may not follow the advice of Supreme Court. So in such a way, every article speak about one particular item in the administration, needed item in the administration. So this is what the first important one what you have to understand. Next, coming to the parliamentary democracy. Which democracy? Parliamentary democracy. Under types of democracy we have seen parliamentary democracy, presidential democracy. What is parliamentary democracy? India adopts parliamentary democracy, and in this parliamentary democracy there is close relationship between legislature and executive. What is the important feature of the parliamentary democracy? There is close relationship between legislature and executive. Even we have read already what is legislature, which makes laws, what is executive, which implements laws, what is judiciary, which actually question the laws, if those are good or not, if those are being implemented in a good way or not. And even in the judiciary protects the rights of every citizen. Understood? So in this way there is close relationship between legislature and executive, and the executive is selected from the legislature only, from the members of legislature only. That means from the members of legislature only will become the members of executive. So executive is responsible to whom? Legislature. Executive is responsible to whom? Legislature. And in this parliamentary democracy you have to understand the very important feature that in parliamentary democracy President has nominal powers. Then we have got real powers. All real powers are exercised, all real powers are enjoyed by the Prime Minister. That you have to understand. Understood? So what I told you, in parliamentary democracy the President has nominal powers. Generally who will have the real powers? The Prime Minister only have the real powers. So this is the important feature what you find in case of parliamentary democracy. But if you see USA, the USA which adopts presidential democracy, in that all the powers are vested in the hands of President, as it is presidential democracy. But in parliamentary democracy, the real powers are exercised by Prime Minister and the nominal powers are exercised by the President. That you have to remember. So this is the second important feature. And now coming to the third important feature, federal polity. What is federal polity? See, India is a federal state. So on what basis you can tell that India is a federal? See, in the world, some countries are unitary states and some countries are federal states, and some countries have both the features of unitary state and also federal state. First you have to understand what is unitary state. So unitary state means if you find only one government for the entire country, that is called unitary state. There is no division of power. You don't find governments in the local level, you don't find governments in the state level, you don't find governments, you find government only at the central level. That government only rules the entire country. That is called unitary state. Example I have given South Africa. Then what is federal state? In a federal state, you can find the government at each smaller units. We have got governments. In each smaller units, they have their own governments. See, in our country, in order to administer well, our country is divided into first states, again states into districts, again districts into mandals. Even in each mandal you find some villages. So in village level you see village panchayati, at mandal level you see mandal parishad, at district level you see jilla parishad, at state level you see state government, and central level you see central government. See, in this way the constitution has defined a clear division of powers between the state government and central government. So what is federal state means? The state in which you find division of power between central government and state government. That is the important feature what you find particularly in a federal state. See, in a federal state each smaller units have own governments. Constitution provides clear division of power between state and the center. So this feature you can observe in India. So that's why even you can see, you can tell that you can find so the features of a federal state. But you cannot tell India is a purely federal state. India is not a purely federal state. Okay, but it has the features of federal state. Understood? So this is the third one. Now what is fourth one? Fourth one we are going to see that welfare state, and also a single citizenship, and also fundamental rights and fundamental duties, all we are going to see now. Yes children, so far what we have seen, so India's constitution is a lengthiest written constitution, number one, and number two, India adopts parliamentary system of government, and number three, third one we have seen that a federal polity. Now the fourth important one, is India constitution a rigid constitution or a flexible constitution? But first you have to understand what is rigid constitution, what is flexible constitution. So rigid constitution in the sense the constitution which can be amended, which can be changed very easily, that is called flexible constitution. The constitution which can be easily changed, that is called flexible constitution. The constitution which cannot be changed easily, that is called rigid constitution. So India's constitution is neither rigid nor flexible. India's constitution actually has both the features of rigid as well as flexible. That means regarding some matters we can easily change, regarding some matters we have to adopt a rigid procedure to bring some changes. So India's constitution is neither rigid and not flexible, and so India's constitution has the features of both rigid constitution and the flexible constitution, that you have to remember. And next coming to the welfare state. So what is welfare state? What is welfare means? Just bringing happiness among the people by adopting, by implementing some policies, particularly by the government. If you bring happiness among the people, among the citizens, that is called welfare. So in 1950 January 26th, whenever our constitution came into force, by that time itself we promised that we are going to make our country a welfare state. So what is the important responsibility of the government, particularly in welfare state, means the government brings so many policies to help whom? Large number of deprived and poverty stricken citizens. Large number of deprived and poverty stricken citizens. So the people who are in poverty. So by bringing some policies, we try to make them particularly to have happiness, particularly to come out from the poverty. So by adopting some policies. So in order to do that only, in part 4, what you observe, the directive principles of state policy. So directive principles of state policies are nothing but these are the guidelines for the government. According to such guidelines, the government has to see to make our country a welfare state. So that's why even you can observe some important policies, particularly to help the poverty stricken people, deprived sections of the people, like reservation, and through public distribution system, it is trying to make all people equal. That is one important example. So that is what welfare state. Next, fundamental rights and fundamental duties. See, in order to enjoy the freedom, we require some rights. So for that purpose only, our constitution has given 6 important fundamental rights. What are those? That is what? Right to freedom, right to equality, and cultural and educational rights, right to religion, and even you can see right to constitutional remedies. So in this way, we have got right to equality, right to freedom, cultural and educational rights, and right to religion, and right to constitutional remedies, and also we have got right against exploitation. Right against exploitation. Exploitation. Once again I am repeating these: right to freedom, right to equality, cultural and education rights, right to religion, right to constitutional remedies, and right against exploitation. In this way, our constitution has given how many? 6 fundamental rights. So for what purpose actually these rights are given? To enjoy the real freedom in the country. And not only rights, even we have got some duties. But those duties are called fundamental duties. Then what is the basic difference between rights and duties? See, the rights can be enforced by the law. That means if a citizen is actually lagged, if a citizen is neglected, if a citizen is rejected, particularly in case of rights, the citizens have right to approach the court. So through court, they can get those rights. But in case of fundamental duties, the court cannot enforce these duties. So the citizens have to feel that. Understood? So that is the important difference. So what is the important difference? The rights can be enforced by the courts, but duties cannot be enforced by the courts. That you have to understand. So in this way, the fundamental rights have been taken from the USA Constitution that we have learnt in the introduction itself. Fundamental duties we have taken from Soviet Union, that is Russia. So every citizen has to perform his duty by enjoying his rights. Then only the country progress. So this is what 6th important feature of Indian Constitution. Next, directive principles of state policy. See, while explaining welfare state, I told you directive principles of state policy you can find in 4th part of Indian Constitution. In the first side heading itself, I told you that there are 22 parts in our Constitution. So in 22 parts, in 4th part, you find directive principles of state policy. The directive principles of state policies are nothing but these are the guidelines for the governments given by the Constitution. So according to those guidelines, the government has to see to bring socio-economic prosperity in the society. That means the government has to see to make all people socially equal and economically equal. Then only the welfare state is possible. So directive principles of state policy is another important part what you can see in our Constitution. That is one more. And next important one is yes children. So what is 8th important feature of Indian Constitution is that is a single integrated judicial system. So which is the apex court in our country? Which is the highest court? Highest court is Supreme Court. Supreme Court is the apex court in our country. Which is the highest court? Supreme Court is the apex court, highest court. Then which courts work under Supreme Court? High courts work under Supreme Court. Under high courts, which courts work? District courts work. So in this way, the judges who have worked in the district courts may be worked in the high courts, and whenever they get experience, the judges who work in the high court, they may be work in the Supreme Court. Understood? So in this way, the judgments are not at all separate. The people who have worked in the lower courts, they can work in the higher courts. So in that way, our judicial system is completely integrated. There is a unified judicial system throughout the nation. The judgments are not separate. Even if people who actually don't get justice in the lower courts, they can go to the higher courts. Higher courts cannot reject these cases, the cases which come actually from the lower courts. That means if a citizen feels that he has not got justice in the lower courts, by approaching the higher courts, they can get justice. The higher courts cannot reject the lower courts cases. That you have to understand. So in that way, we have got integrated judicial system. Ninth one is single citizenship. What is dual citizenship? What is single citizenship? See, generally a federal state may give dual citizenship, but our country has given single citizenship. What is dual citizenship? Take for example USA. All the citizens may have their state citizenship separately and USA citizenship separately. For example, if they are living in a particular state, for example Alaska, San Francisco, New York, New Jersey, in all these states, the states will give one citizenship to the citizens, and also the entire country gives another citizenship to the citizens. But in our country, there is no separation for the entire country. All that is, government has given single citizenship. There is no division. Understood? So in that way, throughout the country, we have the government has given single citizenship. You don't find dual citizenship. Where do you find dual citizenship? Particularly in federal states like USA. Even you can find dual citizenship in Switzerland also. Switzerland, and even USA. That is dual citizenship. State citizenship is separate and central citizenship is separate. Now finally coming to the universal adult franchise. What is universal adult franchise? First of all, you have to understand what is franchise. Franchise means vote. To vote. Franchise means what? To vote. Adult means what? The people who have got 18 years of age. Universal means what? Universal means what? We are giving the right to vote for all the people of 18 years of age, irrespective of their religion, their race, their color, their educational qualifications, their social status, their region. So irrespective of, regardless of their caste, religion, region, color, educational qualifications, if right to vote is given to all the adults, that is called universal adult franchise. So what is universal adult franchise? Giving right to vote to all the adults, irrespective of their religion, caste, region, race, color, educational status and their social status. That is called universal adult franchise. Then why they have mentioned here? So our constitution, our country has given that facility to all the adults. No discrimination between men and women, caste to caste, religion to religion, race to race, color to color, education to other education. But if you see, at the time of independence, government has given right to vote, but the people who are paying taxes, For them, it has given right to vote. But now, adults have got right to vote. All adults have got right to vote. Understood? So this is what another important feature in our constitution. So our constitution has given universal adult franchise. All adults can enjoy right to vote. So in this way, we have got 10 important features of our constitution. What are those? Lengthiest, India's constitution is the lengthiest written constitution. India adopts parliamentary system of government and federal polity, fundamental rights and fundamental duties, welfare state, and unified judicial system, that is what integrated judicial system, single citizenship, and even we have seen other important features like directive principles of state policy. So in this way we have got 10 important features. So based on this only you are going to see the worksheet and try to answer those even by taking the help of textbook. Thank you.